Hi everyone and welcome back. So in this video we are going to talk about React and Auth0, and then further we will be talking about React, Next.js, Auth0 and Nest.js integration. These are the four major pillars which we will be talking about in next couple of videos, like React with Auth0, Next.js with Auth0, React.js with Auth0 organizations, how we are managing users in Auth0, and then social connections, logging with SSO, and then once you are able to log in, then how you can validate your APIs with the access token which is provided by Auth0. So all those things will be in stack for a couple of days. So I already put some code snippet around Auth0 integrations, and we are going to just clone this repository and fill in the gaps and understand how we can integrate Auth0 with React, simple React app, which is client-side rendered application. So we will just clone this application. This is application we just have cloned, and already we have integrated with Auth0. So what library we are using here is Auth0 Auth React. This library is already added in the npm. What you need to do is just hit npm install, so you get all the dependencies downloaded, and then we will just play with the client-side rendered basic routing and how we can protect some of the pages. So there will be a public page and a private page. Private page will be protected. You can access only after you log in with Auth0, and then there will be login, logout. So this is our main file, and here we are going to add the route. So in the routes we have a simple 3 different routes. One is a public route, which is the home route, and then we have 2 private route, or you can say we will just protect them because you can access them only once you are logged in. So the routes are like home page, and then there is a profile page, and one is the API route. When you hit a /, you will see the landing page, which shows you the navbar and a simple landing page, hero page. And here you can see this is the header, which is divided into 2 different parts, which is the main nav, which contains your top link, which contains like, okay, these are the different APIs with the nav link. Nav link is a React router DOM component, which is used to create a link. So when you click onto them, you navigate to that particular route. Okay, and then there is a navbar. Auth0 is just a simple authentication button. So that will decide, okay, if you are already authenticated. So now here we are using Auth0, use Auth0. It's actually hook, which is coming from Auth0 Auth React. These are the hooks which are required. So we need to determine, do we need to show the login button or the logout button? That we can just determine from isAuthenticated. And that's an internal. Once the session exists from Auth0, it will say isAuthenticated true. You can just show the logout button, not. Then you will just show the login button. So it will just flip between login and logout based on this hook which we are using, use Auth0. So use Auth0 hook provides the user is authenticated. It also provides you to a mechanism to access the silent token, access the access token and ID token. Okay, now we'll go to our home page. Here every time when you use Auth0, you will see at many places what it is doing is it is checking if you are in loading state or if you are already logged in, all these things. So here we will just replace that to the protected route, because one route is public and both the other routes are protected. This is the protected route. I mean, here we are just rendering a child component. So here we are using with authentication required, that is coming from Auth0 required. So if you try to navigate to this private component, private route, when you are not logged in, you will be redirected back to the loading. So this is the fallback, and this is the check that you cannot access the protected route. Okay, then these are the 2 credentials I have populated: Auth0 app domain and React app Auth0 client ID. This is how you populate the env variable, and from here this is the my Auth0 console. Here we are going to create application for Auth0. So I just created a simple application. I got the domain and the client ID. This is the important segment of the whole demo, is we are creating a Auth0 provider. Auth0 provider is actually wrapper, and all the child component will come under it. What this component is, this component provide a mechanism in which you can configure. This is where the React Auth client ID, audience and domain are being used. Here we are using Auth0 provider, which is being imported from Auth React. You can see at line 16, Auth0 provider, we are passing domain, client ID, redirect URI and audience. And the whole application is inside this provider. And this is our profile page. In this profile page, we are able to access the user object once you are logged in. So we are using use Auth0. So this hook is everywhere. Either you want to access the user, you wanted to know if this stage is loading, if you wanted to know if you are logged in or not, everywhere we are using the same same use auth hook, and here you can populate the whole profile. And another thing is the external API. So external API, we can see when you wanted to talk to external APIs with the audience, that we will see in the next video. Now let's see how we are creating application on Auth0. Go to regular web app and just choose a single web application. Okay, just create. It will just give you the everything. I mean, it will populate the settings, which will give you the domain, tenant domain, and the client ID, and rest all the information like origin, callback URL, and the application logout URL. All these things we need to enter. Application login URI, callback URL, and the logout URL. So enter all these informations, login URI, logout URI, and the callback URL. This can be simple localhost, HTTP localhost 3000. That is the port where your front-end React application is running. Web origin, I'm going to paste same everywhere. Now we can look at the other configurations like connections. Connections are username, password authentication true. If you want to enable any social authentication also, you can just toggle this. So you can also show users to log in with Google or any social provider. So this is our React application. We can just change the environment port to 3000 and run our application. So we just need a client ID and a domain in the environment variable. 10 audience we don't need right now because we are not talking about API authorization. So sign in with Auth0. When you click onto the login, we will be redirected back here. And here you can, if your user exists in Auth0, you can log in with that. So here we can also enable some social connections, like I enabled a login with Google from the connections tab. So now I should see login with Google. When you click on login with Google, I will be presented with this domain, I mean login with Google, and I will just continue and I should be able to enter into the application. So this is how a simple login. So this is the consent screen. I will click on accept and I should be able to enter into the application. And on the profile page, I can see my whole profile gets populated from Auth0 login. So this is actually the session information which Auth0 has on the client side. Here it contains everything. So this is a simple demo. I mean, I haven't written lots of code. I can share the same repository and the same settings. Now, what is next? Let's say we got the access token and ID token. First, we will try to look into what is access token and what is ID token. Then we will talk about Auth0 organization. We will talk about how we can use this access token to validate our APIs. So we need to register APIs on Auth0 so that when you get this token, you can use this token to get validated by the API server and you can get the data from that. So there is an external API tab which we haven't used in this demo. We will create our Nest.js backend or Express Node.js backend, and we will pass this access token which we are getting in the React frontend, and we will validate that okay, you got this token from the right tenant, right client ID, and we will allow user to read and write data.